Dr. Ethan Hart was no stranger to pressure. As one of Earth's foremost trauma surgeons, he had seen everything from life-threatening injuries to the ravages of experimental diseases. But nothing could have prepared him for the knock on his apartment door that stormy night. It wasn't the sound of rain against his window or the late hour that made him hesitate. It was the figures on his doorstep. Two men in black suits flanked a woman wearing an intricate metallic insignia Ethan didn't recognize. The men spoke with rehearsed urgency, but it was the woman who held his attention. Her eyes shimmered unnaturally, reflecting colors he couldn't identify, and when she handed him a sleek, transparent tablet with glowing text in a language he had never seen, his gut told him this was no ordinary house call. "Dr. Hart," the woman said in perfect, yet oddly melodic English. "Your expertise is required for a matter of utmost importance. Time is critical. Please come with us." Ethan frowned, his curiosity battling exhaustion. "You'll have to tell me what this is about first. I don't usually work off the clock, especially not 4-. He hesitated, glancing at her eyes again. "Whoever you people are." The woman sighed, a sound that was almost musical. "Your patient is Princess Celera of Arcuva. She is terminally ill, and only your unique perspective can save her." The words hung in the air, absurd and surreal. He almost laughed, thinking it was a prank. But then the tablet displayed a holographic image. The being in the projection wasn't human. She was luminous, her body shimmering with a golden light that seemed alive. Her alien features were regal, her expression serene yet burdened by pain. Ethan felt a chill. "This is a joke, right?" He looked at the men in black, then back at the woman. "An alien princess? Seriously?" "No joke," she replied. "If we fail to save her, the consequences will affect not only Arcuva but your world as well. The peace treaty between our species is fragile. Her survival is vital." Ethan didn't know whether to be incredulous or terrified. He stared at the image again. The princess's glowing figure looked impossibly delicate, yet something about her eyes resonated with him. Even through the hologram, he could sense her pain and her dignity. Within an hour, Ethan found himself in the back of a sleek, black vehicle speeding toward a secure government facility hidden deep in the mountains. The trip was a blur. Questions buzzed in his mind, but none of the agents answered beyond cryptic assurances that everything would be explained. The facility itself was more advanced than anything Ethan had ever seen, like something out of a science fiction movie. He passed through multiple layers of security before being escorted into a medical bay unlike any he had ever encountered. The room was sterile and sleek, lit by soft, ambient lights that changed color subtly, as if responding to some unseen rhythm. And there she was. Princess Celera lay on a levitating medical platform surrounded by alien technology. Her form was radiant yet fragile, her golden light flickering faintly. Her translucent skin revealed an intricate network of glowing pathways, pulsing erratically like a failing heartbeat. Ethan approached cautiously, unsure whether to bow or introduce himself. But as he stood there, Celera opened her eyes. They were luminous and deep, like galaxies swirling with unspoken wisdom. Her lips moved, forming words he couldn't understand. "She thanks you for coming," the melodic woman translated. "And she says, she's sorry to place this burden on you." Ethan swallowed hard, his professional instincts taking over. "What's wrong with her?" he asked, turning to the alien devices surrounding her. The woman handed him a digital pad, the alien text instantly translating into English. "We don't know the exact cause," she explained. "Her energy pathways are deteriorating. Her condition is beyond our understanding, but we believe Earth's medical knowledge might offer insights we lack." Ethan skimmed the data, his mind racing. Her energy pathways, the alien equivalent of circulatory and nervous systems, were collapsing. He had no frame of reference for this kind of biology, but he recognized patterns that resembled mitochondrial failure in humans. Her cells couldn't sustain energy, and it was killing her. I'll need a team, he said, still studying the data. Experts in biophysics, quantum mechanics. This is way out of my league. You will have access to every resource we can provide, the woman assured him. But you must lead. You are known for your creative solutions, Dr. Hart. That is why we sought you. Ethan felt the weight of her words, the enormity of the task sinking in. He was about to attempt something no human had ever done, heal a being whose biology was alien in every sense of the word. Failure wasn't an option. Not for Celera, not for the fragile piece she represented. He placed a pad on a nearby table and met Celara's gaze. I don't know if I can save you, he said honestly, his voice steady. But I'll do everything I can to try. Celara's lips curved into a faint smile. Her light flickered, brighter for just a moment. It was the closest thing to hope Ethan had ever seen. As he turned to the array of alien and human equipment, Ethan took a deep breath. This was uncharted territory, a challenge that would push him beyond his limits. But something told him he was exactly where he was meant to be. And so began the fight to save an alien princess, a fight that would change not only Ethan's life but the fate of 2 worlds. Dr. Ethan Hart stood at the threshold of a task that seemed impossible, saving a life that didn't conform to the biological principles he had spent his career mastering. The medical bay buzzed with activity, a blend of human and alien specialists scrambling to translate their respective knowledge into actionable treatment plans. Celara's condition was deteriorating rapidly. Her energy pathways, which Ethan likened to a fusion of a circulatory and nervous system, were breaking down at an alarming rate. Without intervention, her internal light, the Arcuvan equivalent of life force, would extinguish in days, if not hours. The first breakthrough, Ethan immersed himself in the alien data, analyzing Celara's energy pathways and their deterioration. With the help of Arcuvan scientists and their advanced diagnostic tools, he discovered that her condition resembled mitochondrial failure in humans. Her cells were unable to maintain the energy required to sustain her luminous form. Arcuvan technology allowed Ethan to visualize her life force as if it were a physical entity. Holographic projections displayed intricate patterns of light, flickering and fading in certain areas. He noticed something peculiar. The affected regions aligned with where energy pathways crossed. It was as if her body's own energy system had turned against itself. Ethan had an idea. If the issue lay in energy mismanagement, could he stabilize her pathways by introducing an external energy source? He proposed using an Arcuvan energy stimulator, a device designed to regulate energy flow in their technology, combined with an Earth-based compound that could mimic cellular repair. After extensive research, he settled on helium-3, an isotope found in trace amounts on Earth but abundant in lunar soil. Helium-3, when supercharged, could potentially interact with Celara's energy pathways, filling the gaps where her own energy was faltering. The Arcuvan scientists were skeptical but agreed to help synthesize a compound that could integrate helium-3 with their bioenergy regulators. The challenge is the procedure was anything but straightforward. Arcuvan energy was volatile and sensitive to slight changes in its balance. Even the smallest error in administering the treatment could cause catastrophic damage, extinguishing Celara's life force entirely. Ethan spent hours in simulations, calibrating the device and refining the delivery system. Celera, despite her fragile state, insisted on being involved. Through the translator, she spoke to Ethan in a voice that was both soothing and commanding. "Do not fear failure, Dr. Hart," she said one evening, her light dim but steady. "You have already given me hope. That is a gift greater than you know." Her words resonated with Ethan, spurring him on. Failure was not an option, but he also understood that science was as much about risk as it was precision. He could only do his best, and Celera seemed to accept that. When the day of the procedure arrived, the tension in the room was palpable. The medical bay was sealed, and the air thrummed with the hum of alien machinery. The Arcuvans had prepared their energy stimulator, a sleek, crystalline device that glowed with a soft, pulsing light. Ethan's helium-3 compound had been carefully infused into a solution that would interface with Solara's energy pathways. Ethan himself would administer the treatment. No one else can adjust for real-time variables like a human, the Arcuvans had said. Your instincts are your strength. As he stood over Solara, her light flickering like a dying ember, Ethan felt the weight of responsibility settle over him. He glanced at her one last time, and she met his gaze, her eyes steady. You are ready, she said through the translator. I believe in you. He nodded and began. The first step was to activate the Arcuvan energy stimulator, threading it into her failing pathways. The holographic monitors displayed her energy patterns in real time, shimmering golden threads that pulsed weakly. Ethan carefully injected the helium-3 solution, watching as it merged with her system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the monitors flared with light. Solara's pathways began to stabilize, glowing brighter as the helium-3 bonded with her energy. But the system wasn't balanced yet. Alarms blared, signaling an overload in one of the pathways. Ethan's hands flew across the control panel, redirecting the energy and adjusting the stimulator's output. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he worked, every second critical. Finally, the alarm stopped. The room was silent except for the hum of the equipment. On the monitors, Solara's energy pathways glowed with a steady, vibrant light. Her form, which had been dim and flickering, now radiated with a brilliance that filled the room. Ethan exhaled, his shoulders slumping with relief. The procedure was over. The aftermath. Solara opened her eyes, her light softer but more vibrant than Ethan had ever seen. She looked at him and spoke, her voice trembling but clear. You have given me more than life. You have given me hope. The Arcuvans were astonished. Many had doubted that a human doctor could solve a problem their advanced science couldn't, but Ethan had proven them wrong. The head Arcuvan scientist approached him, her tone one of grudging respect. Your methods are unorthodox, Dr. Hart, but undeniably effective. You may have saved more than just our princess today. Ethan allowed himself a small smile. For the first time since the ordeal began, he felt something resembling pride. But as he looked at Solara, he realized this was only the beginning. Her recovery was just one part of a much larger story, one that could reshape the relationship between Earth and Arcuva forever. The days following the successful procedure were surreal for Dr. Ethan Hart. Princess Solara, once frail and fading, was now vibrant, her radiant light more luminous than ever. Her recovery was deemed miraculous by the Arcuvan delegation, and Ethan was hailed as a hero. Yet, amidst the accolades and scientific inquiries, it was his growing bond with Solara that captured his thoughts. Conversations beyond science. Solara's recovery required close monitoring, giving Ethan ample opportunity to spend time with her. She had regained her strength quickly, a testament to both Arcuvan biology and the success of the treatment. As she grew stronger, so did her curiosity about Earth and its people. Their conversation started clinically. Solara asked about human anatomy and Earth's history of medical advancements. But soon, the discussions turned more personal. Ethan spoke of his childhood, his decision to become a doctor, and the challenges he had faced. In turn, Solara shared stories of Arcuvan life, her royal responsibilities, and her vision for a galaxy united by mutual understanding. I envy your world, Solara admitted one evening, her light casting soft shadows in the dimly lit medical bay. Your people are driven by emotion, by passion. It is a strength we Arcuvans often lack. Ethan chuckled. Trust me, passion can be a double-edged sword. It's responsible for as many of our problems as our triumphs. Perhaps, Solara replied, her voice thoughtful. But it is also what allowed you to save me. I see it in the way you care, the way you refuse to give up. That is something worth learning. The rumors begin. The Arcuvan delegation was meticulous in their observations, and it didn't take long for whispers to spread. The bond forming between the human doctor and the alien princess was unprecedented and controversial. Arcuvans valued logic and detachment, and Solara's growing affection for Ethan was viewed by some as a dangerous distraction. Ethan himself was aware of the scrutiny but found himself drawn to Solara in ways he couldn't explain. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, wise, graceful, and endlessly curious. Her presence was calming, yet exhilarating, as if she radiated not just light but something deeper. One evening, as they walked through a garden specially created to mimic Arcuvan flora, Solara stopped and turned to Ethan. "Do you feel it too?" she asked, her voice quiet yet insistent. "Feel what?" Ethan asked, though he suspected he already knew. "This connection," she said, her luminous eyes searching his face. "It defies logic, yet it feels inevitable." Ethan hesitated, torn between the boundaries of their worlds and the undeniable truth in her words. "I feel it," he admitted. "But we're from two different galaxies, Solara. Different lives, different expectations. How could this ever work?" Solara smiled faintly. "In my world, we are taught to value what is logical. But you have shown me there is value in the illogical too. Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in between." The conflict. Their growing closeness did not go unnoticed by the Arcuvan Council. High Chancellor Oral, Solara's chief advisor, approached Ethan with a stern warning. "Your relationship with the princess is creating waves," Dr. Oral said, his tone cold. "You are here as a healer, not a companion." Ethan bristled but chose his words carefully. "I care about her well-being, Chancellor." "Isn't that what you brought me here for?" "You misunderstand," Oral replied. "The princess's role is far greater than you comprehend. Her connection to you threatens to distract her from her duties and jeopardize the fragile peace we have worked so hard to maintain." Ethan knew Oral was right, but his feelings for Solara were no longer something he could deny. He wrestled with his emotions, torn between respecting the boundaries of their worlds and his growing need to be near her. Solara, however, was less conflicted. "Our bond is not a weakness," she told Oral during a tense meeting. "It is a strength. Ethan embodies the humanity that I believe can unite our peoples. Do not fear what you do not understand." Oral, though unconvinced, relented. For now. A moment of vulnerability. One night, as the Arcuvans prepared for their return to their homeworld, Solara sought out Ethan in the quiet of the medical bay. She wore a simple gown that shimmered like liquid gold, and her light was soft, almost intimate. "Ethan," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I leave soon. But before I go, I must ask you something." He turned to her, sensing the gravity of her words. "What is it?" "If the opportunity arose," she began, her gaze steady, "would you come with me to Arcuva?" Ethan was stunned. He had considered the possibility of their bond ending when she left, but the idea of leaving his own world behind had never occurred to him. I don't know," he admitted. "My life is here, Solara. My work, my family dash. And yet, your heart has already crossed the stars," she interrupted gently. "I see it in your eyes. You are not meant to stay tethered to one world." Her words stirred something deep within him. For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to imagine a life beyond Earth, one where he could explore the galaxy alongside Solara, bridging the gap between their peoples. But the decision was not one he could make lightly. As Solara's departure loomed, Ethan found himself at a crossroads, torn between the world he knew and the extraordinary connection he had found among the stars. The chapter ended with Ethan gazing out a window at the night sky, the stars above seeming closer than ever. The day of departure arrived with an air of solemnity. The Arcuvans had completed their diplomatic mission on Earth, and their advanced starship awaited them in the shadow of a remote mountain range. Dr. Ethan Hart stood on the tarmac, surrounded by officials and scientists who had come to see the delegation off. But his attention was fixed solely on Princess Solara. She stood at the edge of the ship's boarding ramp, radiant as ever, her golden light brighter than it had been since the day they met. Though her expression was calm, Ethan could see the turmoil in her eyes, a reflection of his own. Their bond had deepened in ways neither of them had anticipated, and now the prospect of separation loomed heavy. The gift of a lifetime as the final farewells were exchanged, Celera stepped forward, addressing the gathered humans with her translator. "Your world has shown us great kindness, and for that, my people and I are eternally grateful. But one among you has gone beyond duty and expectation. He has given me not only my life, but also a deeper understanding of humanity's strength and heart." Ethan felt the weight of her words, knowing they were meant for him. She turned to him, her luminous eyes meeting his. "Dr. Hart, you risked everything to save me. In doing so, you have bridged not just the gap between two beings, but between two worlds. For this, we owe you a debt that cannot be measured." Celera extended her hand, and an Arcuvan artifact materialized from a compartment on her wristband. It was a crystalline orb, shimmering with colors Ethan couldn't name. "This is a life crystal," she explained. "It is the most sacred gift my people can offer. With it, your lifespan will be extended indefinitely, and your cognitive abilities will be enhanced. It is a token of my gratitude and a recognition of your extraordinary spirit." The crowd murmured in awe. The implications of such a gift were staggering. Ethan accepted the crystal, its surface warm and pulsing gently in his palm. For a moment, he was speechless. "I don't know what to say," he finally managed. "This is beyond anything I could have imagined." Celera smiled softly. "Then say nothing. Simply accept it as you have accepted the challenges before you with courage and humility." A surprising invitation. The moment felt final, but Celera wasn't finished. She stepped closer to Ethan, lowering her voice so only he could hear. "Ethan, you saved my life. You showed me a world of possibility. Now, I must ask one more thing of you." Ethan's heart raced. "Anything," he said without hesitation. "Come with me," she said simply. The words hung in the air, a bold invitation that shook him to his core. "Celera, I can't just leave Earth. My work, my life, they're here." Celera's light flickered slightly, a sign of her emotion. "Your work will always be needed, Ethan, but it doesn't have to end here. My people need someone like you, someone who can teach us the value of passion and empathy. You could be our first ambassador, a bridge between our species." Ethan hesitated, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. "It's not that simple. This is my home." She placed a hand over his, the warmth of her touch unlike anything he had ever felt. "Home is not a place, Ethan. It is where your purpose lies." The decision. Ethan spent the next few hours in turmoil, pacing in a private room provided by the Arcuvans. The life crystal glowed faintly on a table beside him, a reminder of the extraordinary gift he had already been given. But it was Celera's words that echoed in his mind. Finally, he made his decision. A new beginning. Ethan stepped onto the tarmac just as the last preparations for departure were being finalized. The Earth officials were startled when he approached the Arcuvan delegation. "I've made my choice," he announced, his voice steady. He turned to Celera, who was watching him with an intensity that betrayed her hope. "I'm coming with you." The delegation erupted in surprise, but Celera's expression was serene, her light glowing brighter than ever. "You honor us, Ethan," she said simply. "And you honor me." As Ethan ascended the boarding ramp beside her, he felt a mix of exhilaration and uncertainty. He was leaving behind everything he knew for a future that was as unpredictable as it was extraordinary. But when Celera reached for his hand, he knew he had made the right choice. The journey ahead. The Arcuvan ship lifted off, its departure marked by a wave of light that rippled across the sky. Earth grew smaller in the viewport, a tiny blue gem in the vastness of space. Ethan stood beside Celera, his thoughts racing as the stars stretched into streaks of light around them. "What happens now?" he asked, his voice tinged with both anticipation and apprehension. Celera smiled, her light reflecting off the crystalline walls of the ship. Now, we explore. We learn. And we build something greater than either of us could have imagined. As the ship surged into the depths of the galaxy, Ethan felt a sense of purpose unlike anything he had ever known. The bond he had forged with Celera wasn't just personal, it was the foundation of a new era for two civilizations. And so, the human doctor who had once been bound by the limits of his own world embarked on a journey that would transcend time, space, and imagination. For Ethan Hart, this was not the end, but the beginning of a story that would reshape the stars.